I'm not sure that Harmon Killebrew would be comfortable with all the adulation and tributes he's been getting since he passed away Tuesday. Even his own son said Harmon was so humble he did not realize how loved he was. Later on in the show tonight, we'll have the day in sports, but first we continue our tribute to number 3. Twins fans are asked to come to the game tomorrow night at Target Field wearing the number 3. Then on Thursday night at 7 o'clock, the Twins will hold a public celebration of Harmon's life at Target Field at 7 o'clock. Michael Kadire is one of the players who's expected to speak, and Baseball Commissioner Bud Selig will be at the event as well. The funeral on Friday in Arizona was a fitting tribute, with family and his baseball family leading Harmon into the church. The entire Twins team was there. And the back of the program may have said it best. It said, Harmon is a gentle, compassionate human being who just happened to be a legendary baseball player. Paul Molitor called being a pallbearer one of his greatest honors in his life. And Rod Carew said, Harmon told him, we're here to help each other. What else is there?
One of the things that's special about Harmon for me was that, you know, at 74, he still connected today's player better than a lot of other former 70-year-old players, 74-year-old players. And just the way he would command that respect and that kind of response that you get from today's players, you know, says something special, too.
As a young player, you know, and as hot-headed as I was, and just watching him play, watching the way he went about things and how he handled himself, made a tremendous impact on myself as a young player and as a person. And, you know, we remained very close friends over the years, and I'm going to miss him. You know, I came in on Monday and sat with him and held his hands and talked to him, and we both said how much we loved each other, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity to been able to be his friend and to have learned a lot of things from him as a person.
Joining us tonight is a man who saw Harmon play his first game ever in Minnesota and got to cover him later in his career. Pat Reusse of 1500 ESPN and the Star Tribune. Quite a guy, Harmon was. I mean, I think anybody who knew him, covered him, got to meet him would say the same thing.
Yeah, my first year on the beat was his last with the Twins, 74. He was a quiet guy as a player, but got much more approachable for me later in life. And I've always said one of the fun things was you're sitting in the back of the press box talking to him an hour and a half before the game, and he'd say something a little bit un-Harmon-like, and he'd had this great giggle, like, ooh, you know, like he was embarrassed that he said that. But, yeah, he was a lot of fun. And I read something today about somebody came up to him and said, you used to be one of my favorite players, and he'd always say, I'm not anymore. You know? So, yeah, he had a little more sense of humor than we give him credit for, I think. He had a little more of a twinkle in his eye later than he did when he played, probably.
Those homers were legendary. I mean, the thing, I talked to a lot of ball players this weekend, former teammates and guys who played against him. They said the guy never took a half swing. I mean, he stood on his heels on every swing.
Yeah, he tried to get in the pitcher's count. He sat close to the plate because he wanted you to pitch him inside, and he had the uppercut swing. And that's the way home run hitters used to do it. They were always pulling the ball. This nonsense of using the whole field never appealed to Harmon. He was strictly a pull hitter and had the uppercut finish. And he's not a huge man. He was, we're talking about Paul Bunyan. He's Paul Bunyan's kid brother physically, but he had the massive wrists, massive forearms, wide across the back. He was strong where you had to be to hit home runs. And I did get him a little agitated a couple years ago. I got him going on the steroid guys, and he got a little upset that all these cheaters were going past him. He didn't mind getting passed by Ken Griffey, or who has never been implicated, or Tomey, but
the Bonds.
He was wondering when they were going to do something about all these and start putting asterisks. And he also said he always will feel like Roger Maris holds the home run record and Henry Aaron holds the all-time home run record. So.
You know, one of the things that was kind of neat at the funeral is when they showed some of the old young pictures of Harmon. You forget, A, Harmon had hair, and B, Harmon was quite the young athlete. I mean, he was going to go to Oregon on a football scholarship to be the quarterback there.
I think a lot of people forget that 62, 3, and 4, he played left field. And he could run around a little bit here. And, 61, he moved. I mean, he was a pretty good athlete because when they platooned him there for a while, he played between first and third when they wanted to play Rich Rollins against left-handed pitching. Harmon went over and played first. When they wanted to play Don Mincher against right-handed pitching, Harmon went and played third, and he was I guess, a terrific football player. I mean, that was he was going to go and replace George Shaw as the Oregon quarterback, who started the first Viking game ever. So
until Fran Tarkenton took over.
Yes, it didn't last long for George, but
you know, Harmon was really proud of that statue. You know, and they had a couple of pictures in the program. That statue meant a lot to him.
Yes, and I wrote my column when he died that that's the All-Star game swing. That's the picture he sent to him. I think it's a Sports Illustrated photo that legendary SI guy took, and that's the photo he sent to Bill Mack to work off of, and then he went and posed for him, tried to duplicate that swing. But he did love that statue, and it's great if you stand behind it. It looks like he's hitting one over the Minneapolis skyline. So
it is a great statue. Well, there were 6 Hall of Famers at Harmon's funeral, plus other ball players who competed with or against Harmon over the years. He was feared by pitchers, respected by opponents, and admired by everyone.
I happened to be on the team when he hit number 500 and number 501, so I tried to recall those memories the other day when the passing of Harmon happened, and you know, he just another day in Harmon's life, and he went out and signed autographs, and that's just the way he was.
He's going to be really missed because he's one of the really true good guys. On and off the field he was. We had some friendly battles when I was playing, who was going to wind up 4th on the all-time home run list, and we traded spots on quite a number of days and months, and I outlasted him.
And I always respected him. You know, he respected other guys on other teams. You know, sometimes you have these surly guys, but he was always just a gentleman to the young guys. That's what I couldn't get over.
Don Baylor talking about the gentleman. Interesting, Harmon's son during the service said at one time when he was playing baseball, he yelled at an umpire, and Harmon called him over and said, that'll be the end of that.
Yes. Well, one thing I always amazed me was, you know, Rod Carew was a moody, surly, was going to leave the team and never come back his first year in '67. Harmon, just the opposite, yet they became extremely close friends. And one thing I remember is when Rodney was with the Angels, Harmon was doing TV, and Rodney got his 3,000th hit, just a little old blooper out the left field. Harmon started crying in the booth. I mean, it meant that much to him. I think he's also the guy who started calling Rodney Jr., which all the guys who played back then called him. So to have him that tight with a guy like Rodney, who's a polar opposite of his, shows you how he got along with people.
You know, and I think Calvin Griffith maybe said it was his worst mistake, that his final year in baseball, he ended up playing for the Kansas City Royals, and at his first game back, he hits a home run against the Twins.
Yes, he did. The baseball writers chapter here we made it Harmon Killebrew Day, even though the Twins did not support it in any way. And I think we only got, that tells you how bad things were in '75. I think we only got 13,000 people in the seats that day. Baseball's changed a lot since then. But, yeah, it was, you know, Calvin was losing money. He'd spent 10 years making money, and now he was starting to lose money again, just like he had in Washington, and I think he panicked. He didn't want to pay Harmon $125,000 to be a part-time DH, so I think it was all a money decision.
It certainly was. Well, Harmon was great with the fans. I mean, that really, when you take a look down the line, he kind of set the tone for the franchise. Puckett was good with fans, Mauer. I mean, all these guys kind of know this is part of the deal.
Yeah, it was, you know, I thought one of the great things the Twins did, Dave St. Peter had a lot to do with it, so did Bob Polad, from what I understand, getting him back in the fold in the mid-'90s. We didn't see him around here a lot from the mid-'80s to the mid-'90s.
After he got fired from TV.
Yeah, we didn't see him for about a decade, and then Dave St. Peter and Bob Polad, and you know, they brought Rodney back into the fold, and they brought Harmon into the fold, and we were seeing Harmon 20 times a year. He was here almost every homestand the last few years, so it was great to get him back, and he was relaxed, and I think he enjoyed coming back and mingling and having everyone he saw in the hallway say, "Hey, Harmon, how you doing?" You know, that had to make him feel good.
Well, and now the Twins have a 3-game losing streak to go along for
Yes,
the number. There's a threes
for
keep
all
coming.
the threes. I was covering my head when I said, "Oh, all these threes." Yeah, 18 out of 24, Joe. They've lost
Wow.
18 out of 24. This is, you know, and when Joe Mauer comes back and Nishioka comes back and anybody else comes back, guess what? It's not going to make any difference.
Patrick, thanks so much for stopping by. Some good stories tonight. Still more to come on the Wrap, including your first look at the Vikings' top draft picks in their new uniforms, plus the play of the season so far for the Twins as they tried to avoid the sweep in the desert. The day in sports next on the Wrap.